friends, greetings of the day. Let's discuss the another segment of understanding adolescence, issues and concern. In this area, we will discuss personality development, cognitive, conative and affective. The prerequisites are that learner should expect to know the various types of personality traits and the learning objectives of cognitive, conative and affective developments. The learning objectives could be to explain the meaning of cognitive, conative and affective development, to explain the stages of cognitive development, to know about the stages of cognitive development, analyze the various stages of cognitive development, examine the various characteristics of the stages of affective development, analyze the various stages of cognitive development and examine the various characteristics of stages of cognitive development. We will take up one by one. First, we will take the cognitive development. This aspect is considered an important domain which is connected to the domain of knowledge, which helps the adolescents to improve the potentials of the adolescents. This domain is so wide in which thinking skills development of creativity takes place. This domain is significantly so important because it is closely linked with the sensory part, which helps the adolescents to communicate with the people and helps them in the information process. It means the ability to grow in the thinking and reasoning aspect. This development is quite differently in the age of 6 to 12 and 12 to 18 groups. One aspect which is quite seen in this stage that the children in this age group of 6 to 14 have the ability to think the concentrate or concrete path of the vase. This process is called concrete operation. In this stage, which helps the individual in addition, subtraction, transformation and ordering the things. Age in between 12 to 18 is called the stage of adolescence. In this stage of development, which do the more complex task, which is known as formal logical operation, which includes abstract thinking. It helps in thinking process, new ideas are generated, which are put them in the real idea or to form the new questions on the basis of the ideas and get the awareness about the new thinking. How cognitive growth happens during adolescence? Now let us discuss this. During adolescence, children grow in that perspective, they think in their own way, they move forward from concrete to formal logical thinking. From age 12 to 18, children grow in the way they think. They move from concrete thinking to formal logical operations. The children moves as per their ability to think in more complex ways. It helps the child to imagine the world as per their view about the world. This helps in them to solve the emotional problems in different ways and find the solutions for the problem. Now we will discuss the types of cognitive growth through the years. A child in early adolescence help the adolescents to use compound thinking on dialect decision making at home or at school. It also helps them in the logical operations and he begins to question on the standards of the society and authority. In this phase, he begins to articulate his or her own thoughts on the various dimensions of the particular topic. Second is a child in middle adolescence. In this stage of adolescence, he comes to know through certain experiences which he uses in complex thinking processes. He uses thinking ability in philosophical and innovative concern. Child in this stage often question is broadly. He thinks to form the code of ethics in life, what should be right and wrong, and begins to develop his own identities, which I am or who I am. In this stage of adolescence, start to think on the long-term plan of the life and uses different approach to persuade the relationship with others. The next we have a child in late adolescence. In this phase of adolescence, he uninstincate thinking, focus on personal decision making and on the concept of self-centered. Furthermore, he developed the thinking on the worldwide concept on justice, history and politics. Develops native views on explicit topic, and the adolescents develop the opposing views of intolerance. In this stage of adolescence starts focus on to make the career decisions and focus on the rising role of mature society. How you can encourage healthy cognitive growth? Let's discuss this. To encourage the adolescents in developing the cognitive growth, we should encourage them and include them in the discussion method and on the issues and current situations. Encourage them to contribute in the thoughts and ideas, help them to think independently and to generate their own ideas. Support them in setting the goals of life and help them in the face the challenges of the life. Furthermore, appreciate them for the good thoughts when they came out of their mind. One more thing for the poor decisions so that they can overcome on the thoughts. The theory of Piaget about the intellectual development describes the geocentrism as the concept when is the subject-object interaction is not distinguishable. At every stage of development of intellect, this kind of differentiation is seen in every aspect of the behavior. There is a kind of fluctuation in the intellectual development of the child, in which the child moves from one kind of geocentrism to another kind of geocentrism. Piaget, one of the pioneer founder in the cognitive development, has discussed about the sigmas, which are the mental representations. Piaget is focused on the positive aspect rather than the negative aspect of the mental structure. Piaget has talked about the ecocentrism, which is related with affective aspect of the child. It will help to study the cognitive structure, and secondly, it will help to explore the dimensions of personality. According to Erikson, the major work which is related to thoughts. Formal operations help to adolescents to conceptualize his thought process, and furthermore, it also helps adolescents to enable the adolescents to recognize the thought of other people. This is the main aim of adolescence geocentrism. It will help them to enable and recognize the other people's thought. Now we will discuss the affective domain or affective development. Affective domain includes broader ranging subject which includes emotional, self-concept, identity and personality development. This domain is formulated by Krathwohl, Blooms and Messier in the year 1964. This is a stage of shift which is not categorized the changes which takes place through the process of change in the biological as well as the physical functioning, but it is the combination of social, emotional and cognitive skills which helps the individual in the development of his personality. Rapid development takes place in the dimensions which helps the adolescents in the process of multi-dimensional thinking which takes place simultaneously. It is a period which puts the adolescents in the autonomy and demands of self-regulatory demand. They have two requirements in the academics to maintain the social interaction in the society and peer pressure to hold previous behaviors. Good executive functions that permit the upholding of proper problem solving locate to attain close and far away goals. These are considered to be vital for successful social, emotional and academic functions in adolescence and are one of the significant factors in the progress of various psychiatric disorders. One of the challenges of adolescence is to tenacity conflicts between the goals and the strong drives, and to regulate the behavior in accordance with long-term goal. To overcome the conflict, we should correlate the environmental factors which may improve to execute the functions of adolescence and will provide the prevention to deal with the conflicts so that they can do something better in future. The affective domain is very closely related with social behavior, which is seen in contribution to interactions which help the adolescents in the social emotional skills, which can be defined the process which we can recognize and manage the emotions and to make good decisions. Now we will discuss conative development. This domain of personality deals with the inner drives to achieve the goals. This driving force helps them to achieve the realization the goals of life. This includes the aspirations, choices and decision making. Adolescence cognitive growth is characterized by the large psychic strength with which they follow and comprehend significant goals. They become more and more autonomous in their choices and decision making. This often leads towards the disagreement between themselves, parents and with the teachers. This domain of psychology is related with connections of knowledge and its effect on the component of the behavior. That is why conation refers to the connection of knowledge and effect to behavior and is associated with the issue of why it is related to the intrinsic motivation and self-regulation. The issues which one faces daily, what is the purpose of life and what are my actions? Conation is defined as the mental process that activates and or directs behavior and action. At the beginning of modern psychology, both emotion and conation were considered central to the field. However, interest in these topics declined as overt behavior and cognition received more attention. While desired outcomes associated with these later domains are deeply emphasized in attempts to prepare children and youth for adulthood, which advocates this list be expanded. Adolescence thinking, as the adolescent keeps the step in the period of in the stage of strife, several problems he faces during this time concerning his developmental process. When an adolescent comes in the contact with the members of the society, he creates a new value pattern. The Newsom's report mentioned the intellect differences in the primary and secondary school experiences. The worth of self-consciousness judgment describes a mental process which helps the adolescents to perceive the things of the world through reasons and imaginations. Young children thinking changes more rapidly by simpler material. Awareness, however, is now explanation. There may be several reasons for this lack of information about the adolescent's thinking. On the surface, young children's thinking changes more dramatically and is capable of examination by simpler material induction and deduction. Adolescent will develop the method of induction and deduction which will help them to arrive at conclusion drawn from the basic hypothesis. Induction means moving from particular to general and deduction means from general to particular. This method will help them to arrive at the generalization of the result. The etiology of changes in thinking. Environment which plays an important role in the development of thinking process and the process like maturation experience and communication also comes in the intellectual terms which his environment. Cognitive maturation is related with the neurological maturation. It urges the individual to come with the environment. Experiences also matters with help in the intellectual development, which includes physical experiences, which means looking at the object to draw the knowledge of abstracting it. Secondly, that experience which recognize everyone and helps to shape the behavior of the person. One more experience where knowledge is drained from that other person. Two kinds of experiences which leads towards the recognition of the properties. The first is object and material, and the second is action carried out on the object. This kind of experience built up hand in hand and help the adolescents to teach about the surroundings environment will be meaningless unless the adolescents have an experience related to the structure of the action. At the end, we can say that we have discussed enough about the personality development, its types and traits and its dimensions. Thank you. Have a nice great day.